Arthur, a 76-year-old retired school principal from Alabama, sat in silence for 3 months, watching his ankles swell beyond recognition. He skipped his blood pressure medication on days he needed to walk outside, too embarrassed by the swelling to be seen struggling in public. He had not had a heart attack. He had not developed a new disease. His medication was working exactly as intended. Nobody had ever told him that. That silence between what a doctor prescribes and what a patient understands is one of the most quietly dangerous forces in senior healthcare today. Most seniors share the same memory. A consultation lasting a few minutes, 2 words across a desk, high blood pressure. Then, a prescription. Take once daily, no explanation of what actually changes inside your vessels. No discussion of how a body at 70 responds differently than one at 45. Just simple instructions. Most people walk away with an incomplete understanding, believing the medication is fixing the problem. The truth is more precise and more important than that. These 3 medications are not the same. They work through entirely different systems. If you misunderstand that distinction, you will misread what your body is telling you. Amlodipine is a calcium channel blocker. Your artery walls are surrounded by smooth muscle that tightens when calcium enters the cells, narrowing the vessel and raising pressure. Amlodipine reduces how many of those calcium entry channels are open. Less calcium, less tightening, and pressure falls. But it does not remove why the vessels became tight. It manages the output of the system, not the cause. That distinction matters more than most patients are ever told, and it shapes everything that follows. Lisinopril is an ACE inhibitor. Your body produces angiotensin II, which tightens blood vessels and signals your kidneys to retain fluid. Lisinopril blocks the enzyme that makes it because it also reduces kidney workload. Lisinopril is often the preferred choice for seniors who are managing both elevated blood pressure and early kidney concerns at once. Losartan is an ARB, an angiotensin receptor blocker. It allows angiotensin II to be produced, but blocks the receptor door it needs to enter to tighten your vessels. The signal is sent. The door is locked. The message never gets through. That is the precise mechanism by which losartan works inside your body every day. The key practical difference between lisinopril and losartan is this. Lisinopril causes a dry, persistent cough in a significant number of patients. Losartan does not. When doctors switch patients between these 2 medications, it is not because one is stronger. Nobody should suffer through a nighttime cough when a simple alternative exists. Now back to Arthur and the conversation he should have had on day 1. The explanation was straightforward, and nobody had thought to give it to him. Amlodipine relaxes small arteries in the legs more effectively than it relaxes small veins. Blood flows down easily. It struggles to flow back upward and out. Fluid shifts into the surrounding tissue. That is why shoes fit in the morning and feel tight by evening. It is a predictable and manageable mechanical consequence. It is not heart failure. It is not kidney damage. It is a direct consequence of how this medication acts on the blood vessels of the lower limbs. What made Arthur's situation dangerous was not the swelling itself. It was the silence, the missing conversation that should have taken place on the very first day. He began skipping doses because he was embarrassed, and his blood pressure climbed undetected for 3 months. Skipping doses is far more dangerous than any swelling you are living with. Report swelling to your doctor. Do not hide it. Do not manage it silently. The solution usually exists, but only if your doctor knows the problem is there. If you are on lisinopril, consider carefully whether a cough has developed since starting it. The timing matters far more than most patients are ever told to expect. This cough does not always begin immediately. It can appear months after starting the medication, long after patients have stopped connecting it to the drug at all. By that point, patients have stopped connecting it to the drug entirely. They blame allergies, dry air, or acid reflux, and never consider the pill they take each morning. Patricia was 69. 4 months after beginning lisinopril, she developed a throat tickle that nothing seemed to relieve. Sleepless nights followed. Nobody had warned her this could happen. She replaced nearly everything in her home looking for the cause. The answer had been sitting in her pill organizer every single morning the entire time. A dry cough from lisinopril is uncomfortable. It is not dangerous in itself. but it should be reported promptly to your doctor without waiting through further weeks of suffering. One symptom cannot wait: swelling of the lips, tongue, face, or throat, especially if breathing or swallowing becomes difficult. That is emergency care, immediately, without hesitation. ACE inhibitors can in rare cases cause angioedema. It can become life-threatening within minutes. A dry cough is reported at your next appointment. Throat swelling demands a call to emergency services. Now think about your kitchen, not your medicine cabinet. One of the most serious risks for seniors on these medications is not found in any prescription bottle. Both losartan and lisinopril can raise potassium levels in the blood. When potassium climbs too high, it affects the electrical rhythm of the heart in serious ways. The symptoms do not always announce themselves clearly: muscle weakness, occasional cramping, an irregular heartbeat, and sometimes nothing at all until the situation is already genuinely serious. Salt substitutes marketed as heart-healthy replace sodium with potassium chloride. Electrolyte powders and senior meal replacement drinks quietly add potassium to a body already retaining it through medication. Bernard was 74. He switched to a potassium-based salt substitute, believing he was doing exactly the right thing for his heart. He was on losartan. Nobody told him. He began feeling weak. His potassium came back dangerously elevated. Bernard was not careless. He was not reckless. The gap was entirely in his information, not his discipline. Read every label on every heart-healthy product in your kitchen. Ask your doctor directly, given my specific medication, is a potassium-based salt substitute safe for me to use? That single question may prevent a problem no one in a 12-minute appointment thought to raise. Information is not extra. It is a core part of the treatment itself. Now check your bathroom cabinet. Look for ibuprofen or naproxen. If you are on lisinopril or losartan, especially alongside a diuretic, regular use carries a serious and underappreciated risk. Combined with a diuretic in a slightly dehydrated body, common over-the-counter pain medicines can reduce blood flow to the kidneys and increase the risk of real kidney injury. Ibuprofen never gets mentioned at appointments because it does not feel like a real medicine. It came from a shelf. But that perception is quietly and consistently dangerous. Ask your pharmacist directly whether regular ibuprofen use is safe, given everything you are currently taking. That conversation costs nothing and may prevent a problem nobody saw coming. If you are on losartan or lisinopril and you become ill with vomiting, diarrhea, or heavy sweating, your medication may behave very differently inside a depleted body. These drugs assume a stable fluid balance. When illness strips that away, the same dose can drop blood pressure too far and place real stress on the kidneys. The medication did not become dangerous. The internal environment it was designed to work inside changed completely. That difference is one most patients are never warned about ahead of time. Gerald was 78. He had not missed a single dose in 13 months. During a stomach virus, he still took his losartan every morning out of reliable routine. That night, he stood up and nearly collapsed. The problem was not the medication. His body was depleted. The stable internal environment the drug required no longer existed. Write this down and place it somewhere visible. If I cannot keep fluids down, I call my doctor before I take my next blood pressure pill that day. The most dangerous blood pressure reading is not the highest number you have ever seen. It is the one taken at the wrong moment and used to make a hasty decision. Blood pressure moves constantly with sleep, stress, caffeine, posture, and even the anxiety of worrying about your reading before you take it. One number is not a verdict. Diane was 67. She checked her blood pressure every time she felt anxious, filling pages with numbers, convinced her lisinopril had stopped working entirely. She carried fear with her constantly. When she slowed the process down, measuring at the same time each day in the same chair, after 5 minutes of rest, a completely different picture emerged clearly. Her medication was working. The chaos was entirely in the method, not the medicine. Consistency in how you measure changes everything you think you know about your treatment. Measure at the same time every day. Same arm, same chair, 5 minutes of seated rest before you begin. Never measure reactively and then make decisions from a single anxious number. React to patterns across days and weeks, not to single moments of worry. One number is noise. A consistent pattern observed over time is real and actionable information. Consider also the hidden environment your medication works inside every day. Two patients, same age, same medication, same dose, can have completely different outcomes. The body each works inside is not the same. High sodium intake means more pressure building in your vessels. Your medication works harder just to hold the same ground. The system is working against itself in two directions at once. Poor sleep raises stress hormones that tighten the very vessels your medication is trying to relax. Rest is not a lifestyle bonus. It is an active part of effective treatment. Excess weight adds cardiovascular strain that no single medication can fully compensate for on its own. Physical inactivity stiffens artery walls progressively and silently over years of time. When your medication and your internal environment are aligned, results are stable. When they work against each other, doses climb. The medication is not failing. The system is divided against itself. The best outcomes are never medication alone. They are medication working within an environment that actively supports it. Both matter. Neither is optional. They work together or they struggle apart. None of these three medications erases the condition that is producing your high blood pressure. All three manage the output of the system. They do not erase the system itself. Amlodipine reduces how tightly artery walls contract, but does not remove the stiffness that is built into those walls over decades of cumulative strain and gradual change. Lisinopril blocks the enzyme producing the tightening signal, but does not repair the vascular changes that made those signals too frequent or too strong in the first place. Losartan locks the door the signal needs to enter, but the signal is still being sent. The underlying condition continues producing the same pressure the medication is quietly absorbing. This is why follow-up appointments matter more than the first prescription. This is why lifestyle is not optional. A perfect number on a monitor does not mean the conversation is over. The patients who manage blood pressure best are not the ones on the most medications. They are the ones who understand what their medication is and is not doing for them. They chose to work with both truths at the same time: what the medication is managing and what still needs their own deliberate attention every single day beyond the prescription. If you take amlodipine, watch for ankle swelling that worsens by evening, dizziness when standing and flushing or warmth in the face. Report it. Never skip doses to conceal it. If you take lisinopril, watch for a dry, persistent cough, even if it begins months after starting. Report it. Any swelling of the lips or throat demands immediate emergency care. If you take losartan, read every heart-healthy label in your kitchen and ask your doctor when your potassium was last checked. Watch for muscle weakness and irregular heartbeat. For all three, never use ibuprofen regularly without telling your doctor, and call before your next dose. If serious illness causes significant fluid loss that day, measure blood pressure consistently and never reactively. Never stop any of these medications suddenly without first speaking to your physician. Both of those rules save lives every year. Arthur, after a proper and thorough conversation, had his dose reviewed, his diet examined, and for the first time received a full explanation of what had been happening inside his body. He learned why his ankles were swelling. He learned it was not his heart. Within 3 weeks, the swelling was managed and his blood pressure was stable and consistent. At his follow-up, he said, "I spent 3 months convinced I was dying from something that had a name and a simple answer. I just needed someone to explain it to me clearly." 6 months later, Arthur handed a 1-page summary to 23 men in his Sunday group. 5 went to their doctors with questions they had never known to ask before that morning. 2 had medication adjustments that were long overdue. 1 had been experiencing dizziness from amlodipine for 7 months and had quietly written it off as simply getting older. The information existed. The fix existed. The conversation simply had not happened yet. That gap between existing knowledge and the person who needs it is what causes the most preventable harm. After more than 3 decades in cardiology, one truth stands with absolute certainty: seniors who manage their blood pressure best are not those on the most medications. They are the ones who understand what is actually happening inside their body and use that understanding to make better and more deliberate decisions every single day of their lives. Arthur did not need a different medication. He needed a conversation. Patricia did not need to suffer. She needed one question answered. Bernard needed one label. Read carefully. Before your next blood pressure reading, carry this question with you. Do I actually understand what my medication is doing inside my body right now? And what it is not doing? If the honest answer is not fully yes, that is not a failure. That is simply the gap that better information can close. Information is not extra. Information is part of the treatment.